A gruesome hit-and-run murder sparking outrage in America. Sickening video posted to social media showing a pair of teen killers laughing as they intentionally plow their car into 64-year-old retired police chief Andreas Probst, who was out for a morning bike ride last month in Vegas. Viewer warning, this is extremely tough to watch.
Ready? Yeah.
Oh. The victim, who the teams cruelly left on the side of the road, later discovered by his daughter, who got an Apple alert that her father had fallen. He was then rushed to the hospital and pronounced dead. Cops already arresting the 17-year-old driver on murder charges, and prosecutors are planning to charge him as an adult. But they need the public's help in hunting down the person in the passenger side who recorded the horrific clip. Probst is remembered by his family as an amazing man and a ray of sunshine. Greg, I mean, we have seen this video. I mean, we couldn't play the whole thing. When you saw it for the first time, it had to have had an impact.
It's like I actually tweeted about it being like the ISIS video. It's hard to affect like the city mentality and in anybody's world these days. It's like talking to a drug addict. Hey, did you know crime is really bad for you? And it's like, dude, no, man. Maybe you should cut back on the crime and say, dude, we're good. So what you need is transformational experience and events that would change this mindset, the before and after incident, like the ISIS videos, the thing that jars you into a new reality. When you see this, you cannot unsee it. It's why I avoided the ISIS videos. You can't, I knew that would change me permanently, but that video of that heinous murder is such a transformational event. I saw it. It's now in my brain. It's changed the way I think. I imagine this happened to a lot of people. It's something you didn't want to see. The problem is, we're the only people that care. The media doesn't care if the pigment doesn't fit their program. The villains must be white or it didn't happen. The fact is, they recycled the George Floyd video so much that it transformed a country into a self-loathing, self-destructive entity. The city's leaders stood by and let the violent mobs beat and kill people because they were brainwashed by that video into believing that we deserved it. Something like this, what just happened here, is rare. That's why it's so shocking, and you don't have to riot over this. Now imagine if those sentences were said after George Floyd, instead of this reflects an entire corrupt racist system, an entire vocation of racist officers. We don't do that here because we love our country. We find this heinous and disgusting, but we're not saying it's emblematic of a group, unlike the left and unlike the mainstream media.
Judge, so what do you think the chances are authorities break this teen and just get him to admit who was sitting shotgun filming?
Oh, they'll break him. My understanding is that this teen has some priors, which, of course, lends to his being required to be treated and tried in an adult court. But make no mistake, even though he's 17 and tried in an adult court, his sentencing can be 35% less because he is 17 years old. So will they get the other guy? Will they break him? There's no question. But this is a filming of a public execution, okay, with no regard for the consequences. And this is not just repulsive and something that is not forgettable. You know, when Greg talks about the ISIS videos, and, you know, there are certain things you don't forget. But this is about the devolution of our society. I mean, this is more than just one case. We're in a place where murder is a sport, where the video is your bravado, where the victim, the innocent, silent victim of crime, is nothing more than collateral damage, and where no justice will ever be gotten for the victim or the victim's family. And that's all we're seeing now with this Generation Z that doesn't care about consequences, which to them now is a relatively new concept. And I'm going to spin off of what Greg just talked about. The villains for the media to cover must be white or it didn't happen. So let's talk about the impact of George Floyd. This murderer was 17 years old, alleged murderer. The kid who hit him with the bike and said, yeah, let's get his ass. Okay? There's no question that this was an intentional murder. Now, at the time of George Floyd, he was 13 or 14. At the time of, who was it, Michael Brown? Hands up, don't shoot, which we knew was not accurate because Michael Brown reached for the cop's gun first. This kid was 8 years old. All right. And so we watched businesses burn, neighborhoods burn, murder, mayhem, no consequences. America was under fire. And this is what we got. And this is what we're going to have for the next 20 years, unless that pendulum swings the other way. And, you know, the juvie court, you know, and lowering the age is a bunch of nonsense until we as a society have the nerve and the verve and the determination to lock these kids up, to make them examples. They're going to continue to do this.
Harold Ford Jr.
So I share your view, Judge, that this young man or these young men should be tried as adults. This is just utter evil. There's no way to characterize it any more than that. We can talk about the Floyd thing and the race thing later, but I don't. This is just. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what part of the country they're from. I hope they break this kid and he tells on the other kid, and that they not only are tried as adults, but I hope they don't get the 35% reduction from the judge. Now, they're innocent till proven guilty, but it looks as if they're guilty here. And if indeed they're proven guilty with what happened here, I think there should be aggravating. Before we went on, Dana was asking a question about could there be an aggravated sentence or could we increase the penalty here? I think we ought to look at a federal law in this country that when you kill police officers, retired or not, that there should be a different standard. And this is one of those cases that I hope, whether the media has covered it appropriately, enough or excessively, doesn't look like it. This is the first I'd heard of this matter. This is something that we as a nation should consider, and I hope in Nevada, however you say it, that they contemplate doing something like that.
Dana.
It's Nevada for when you run for president. Just make sure you say it correctly. Okay, so I don't have a ton to add to what everyone has said. I think there's a scary lack of humanity that is out there. And I also think that, do you remember when the kids were doing the knockout game?
Yeah.
It's almost as if they don't think that that's a real person.
Right.
His car was also stolen. But to the media point, so we are doing this story where it's leading the five. Let me tell you, that's a big deal. When something leads to five, it is big. And you can find this on story on Twitter. But when Jordan Neely put the crazed drug addict who was threatening to kill people on a subway, when Jordan Neely, white guy, former Marine, put him in a headlock and chokehold, released him. After that, he died. That was everywhere. There were protests. Oh, and guess what? We heard from AOC then. You heard from the squad at that point. You don't hear anything about this. And the depravity, I can't know, how do you say that word? I've been thinking about it all day. It is a scary thing to witness. The only thing that is maybe good in terms of fighting crime is that these criminals want to film themselves. So that helps prosecutors prove in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt, and hopefully he goes to jail quickly and for the rest of his life.
And that makes me think, how many of these murders we don't see the glee in the murders because they didn't film it? We just happen to see this. Is there a possibility that you could execute somebody, 65% of them, if it's a 35% reduction?
Well, I wonder, do they have the death penalty in Nevada?
Not for someone
Nevada.
that's 17. Absolutely not.
All right.
No.
Nevada
But
for
you
when
know
you run
what,
for
Dana, to your point, there's no question that technology and the advancements that have been made and cameras everywhere, they help law enforcement in a way that was never possible.
All right. Well, this was pure evil, and these people should be punished severely.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.